I go behind my back, no look to him. He no look back to me, and I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh,
House.
How do you play? Like I wore Converse or Chucks at a point in time. How do you hoop in those? I get it. This is the 70s and 80s and shit like that. How the do you wear these shoes, bro, to hoop? Like, how are they even comfortable?
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the beginning, I thought it was foolish and dumb. You know, I didn't know nothing about it.
You mean to tell me that wasn't his? I really didn't know that wasn't his real name. It's your time. It's his time. It's Bam's time. Bam's time to shine. Hey, check it out, man. Back at it again. Another video, man. Back like I never fucking left. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, a courtship of rivals basketball. Y'all wanted me to react to this, so I'm giving it to y'all. Y'all been hitting me in the comments with it. Y'all got me watching an hour and a half vid. I'm doing it for y'all. Come on.
Somewhere. If I go to a foreign country, magic. What magic? I mean, it's the same everywhere.
All right.
We don't have to see each other. We don't have to say hello. We don't have to call each other.
That's my main competition. It's always been like that.
You know you got this tight bond with this cat, and you don't have to see him for a year or two. But you're always going to be linked to him.
Okay.
We got this connection that's never going to be broken. I mean, right to our graves. They'll be talking about this 100 years from now.
I really didn't know that. Like, I knew there was like a real rivalry, but I didn't know it was like this to where like they wasn't talking and shit like that. Because you know when you a rival, you ain't talking to that person like that. Because it's like I can't talk to him, bro.
It all began here in Salt Lake City, Utah, on the night of March 26, 1979.
Oh yeah, the championship game.
It was the NCAA championship. Indiana State versus Michigan State. A game that still ranks as the highest rated college final ever on television. A game that's now remembered as a prologue to a rivalry that transformed a sport.
My man Larry Bird always look, because people say I look old for my age. I'm 24. People say, if they say that about me, I know Larry Bird. They were saying that about Larry Bird back in the day, because he looked like he older than 24 in this college game.
But on that night, March 26, 1979, the first time Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever went head-to-head on a basketball court. They were simply two young men trying to win a very big
He looked
ball.
older than
This is
however
the biggest game I'll ever play in my life, and I just feel like, you know, I'm representing not only myself, my team, but we're representing our school and
he
our
look
town,
older.
Terre Haute.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, for me. I won the state title back in my home state, and then my next accomplishment was going to the NCAA and playing in a game like tonight in the finals.
They were two stars thrown together by the cosmos to compete. But only one of them had been groomed for the spotlight. In his case, it seemed since birth.
I think his upbringing in East Lansing
Magic
really put that
has been
smile on his
winning.
face in the beginning, and it never came off.
Magic really has been winning his whole life when it came to basketball. High school, college, came straight to the league and won immediately. Like, he's really been winning his entire life, bro.
Born August 14th, 1959, Irvin Johnson grew up in Lansing, the gritty industrial capital city of Michigan. Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin Johnson Sr.'s 10 kids. Christine
Back
was
in
a
the
school
day, they was
custodian.
having hella kids.
Irvin Sr. worked 2 jobs nearly around the clock.
My father, he got up early every morning, 6 o'clock or so, and he went to work on his trash hauling truck every single day. Around noon, he would come home, catch a nap, and then he worked for General Motors for 30 years. And he won an award for never being late and never missed a day.
That's respect.
As a youngster, Irvin displayed his own strong work ethic on the blacktop.
I was out there all day long. Before we went to school, the bus leave at 7:30. I was out there at 6:30 working on my game. My mother sometimes had to bring me food, or she would have one of my brothers and sisters go get that boy so he could eat something.
From a very young age, Irvin knew what he wanted to do. He had it all planned out.
It's crazy. Nobody calls him. Probably his family is the only people that call him that. Everybody is literally Magic Johnson. Irvin Magic Johnson. You ain't calling him his first name, bro.
He wanted to play in the NBA and become a businessman.
The first neighborhood basketball powerhouse, Sexton High.
I knew the players. I knew the tradition.
Look at the shoes, bro.
I wanted to be a part of that. And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
Well, I have to ask, how do you play in these, bro?
House.
How do you play? Like I wore Converse or Chucks at a point in time. How do you hoop in those? I get it. This is the 70s and 80s and shit like that. But how? Like the game has evolved tremendously. Cause I'm trying. How the fuck do you wear these shoes, bro, to hoop? Like, how are they even comfortable?
Sexton High.
I knew the players. I knew the tradition. I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay.
And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
Felt comfortable.
But when Lansing, like many cities in the mid-70s, began busing to desegregated school system, Irvin's journey took an unexpected detour to a predominantly white school across town.
Ooh.
My first day at Everett High School was my first time I really had to understand there was a race problem. Nobody white would speak to anybody black, and nobody black would speak to anybody white.
A lot of racial tension, a lot of fights, rioting. They didn't want minorities there.
He kind of shrugged it off, and basically his attitude was, okay, well, I'll overcome this.
Whenever there was any racial problems, the principal would get Irvin and go talk to these kids. I can just see him with his big hands. Calm down, just calm down. He'd break up fights.
Talk with his friends.
That man
tell him,
always had a
let it
fro.
go. We can't fight about everything. Let's just chill. Let's play basketball.
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the beginning, I thought it was foolish and dumb. I didn't know nothing about it.
You mean to tell me that wasn't his? I really didn't know that wasn't his real name. I really thought that was it. So it's just Irvin Johnson, and then the coach gave him Magic. I thought Irvin Magic Johnson. I thought that was really his name. I'm not even gonna lie. And you watching this too? I know every last one of y'all did not. This is news to y'all too. Some of y'all watching this. Let's be real. I really thought that was his real name.
Oh, a nickname. Then what happened was,
Man had look at his hair, rock star
"This is my
shit.
game." Hanging out with my boys on the street corners, we used to sing Temptation songs. They started saying, "Hey man, Magic, that's cool." And then people on the street started saying, "Hey Magic," and I said,
He bought into it, and I think he felt he had to kind of live up to that name. And I must say that he did.
He loved it. The more attention he got, he wanted attention from anybody he could get it from.
Yeah, it does. I really love the game, and I just want to win.
That man always had a fro, bro.
Irvin loved to dress. Underbelt pants and overcoats with the fur around the collar. Always had to have his afro blown out. He had to look the part, play the part.
Irvin was the first guy to have a posse. He not only had a posse of a lot of black kids, he had a lot of white kids and hanging around him.
some of my white friends were like, "Hey man, we're having a kegger tonight. Won't you come on by?" And I'm saying, "What's a kegger?" So he said, "Well, what it is, we get this big keg of beer, and you just go for it." Okay, well, what time does the kegger start? Because regular party time in our neighborhood is 10, 11 o'clock. The kegger starts at 7. I said, the party starts at 7 o'clock? And I said, okay, man, I'm gonna come to the kegger. We had a good time. The music was kind of bad, but we had a good time, you know.
His senior year, Johnson did at Everett what he had planned to do at Sexton, win the state championship. And when it came to choosing a college, he decided to stay where the love would be assured, home in Lansing.
Next year, I will be attending Michigan State University.
They got the old footage and everything.
At MSU, Magic's star quickly went national. But atop the college game, he soon discovered a certain presence beside
older. How old was he in this photo? Does he like? Cause I get this too that I look older than 24, so it's cool. But I'm just, does Larry Bird not look older than this? Like, however age he is in this photo, he looks older than it by at least 2-3 years, bro. I can't be the only one that sees it. He don't look young.
Us.
You got to be careful with saying white dude, because people, I actually did see those comments. You see how he said he's this the baddest white dude? Nobody, y'all tried to make it oh, if a black person said it, y'all would get upset. Or not a black person, if a white person called y'all a black guy or a black dude, y'all would get upset. No. In basketball, I've had a white coach even say, that white boy can play. I've had a white coach, one of my favorite coaches of all time, best coaches that's ever coached me is a white coach. And he even said, that white boy can play on a team that we were playing against in AAU. That white boy can play. Don't let him shoot. That white boy got jumper. That's just a term basketball players always use for the white guy. All the time. That's always been that. Some people, we're just in 2025 where everything, you got to be super politically correct and all this other like it's just too much. You can't say nothing nowadays. And you know, we're about what's the word I'm looking for? We're about respect. We respect each other. You know, some black people honestly, they don't forget about what happened to them back in the day, because they got grandparents who was around for slavery and stuff like that. So they don't, you know, I'm not trying to get off into that, but they don't forget about that shit, because they got great like grandparents who are still living and remember those days. So the great grandparents, they've learned to move on from it, but they still never forgot. So they kind of move accordingly when they're around someone of a different race. Which is cool, whatever they want to do, as long as it's just respect on both ends. Because you didn't do nothing to me. Your ancestors did, so I'm not going to blame you for it. But at the same time, I still, you know, they just got their antennas up. I didn't mean to dive off into that. I just wanted to address that, because even he just said he's one of the coldest white boys I've ever seen. So, just so people don't try to flip the script on us and make it sound like that's not what it is at all. Nice try, though.
Well, I thought he was very good. There's no question about it. I thought he's probably the best guard on the team.
Irvin Johnson, look at that. Oh!
He tries that. Look at this shit, bro.
Irvin Johnson, look at that. Oh!
And then he tried to run back hella fast, bro. I see why they tried to call him. He tried to perform tricks on the court and shit, like a Houdini.
But you could tell.
I think our first game was in Kentucky. We got about a 10, 12-point lead. Man, they put us in. Went to 25, 30, just that fast.
Fast break again, 3-on-2. Griffith. Wow! And that's steal by Larry Bird.
Take us out, the lead go back down, put us back in.
That's Bird and Johnson.
The show start again.
When you play with Magic, there's just something about it. You want to make that extra pass. You want to get that rebound and start to break.
We came down a couple times. I go behind my back, no look to him. He no look back to me, and I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh, man.
Here's that last play. Magic Johnson going in, drops off to Bird. Bird puts it back off, inside to Johnson. Super basket.
This guy got game.
They had some wonderful moments on the court, but they probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period, and it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
But such curtness was hardly strange.
Everybody know, they turned out to be good friends, but everybody know just because you play with somebody on your team, that don't make them your friend. You do create your greatest friendships through sports, don't get me wrong. But everybody on your basketball team is not your friend. Everybody on your football team is not your friend.
Coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly good at them. He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game. That's who I am.
I start to read materials that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. There's people try to get things out of you. Things that don't even pertain to basketball, and them are the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that, or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from. Larry was raised in a 2 or 3 room house on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week. He was raised tough.
Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns of French Lick and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
I didn't know that people made millions of dollars. I didn't know that everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I'd live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor Day 1956, Larry was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on,
this is why I be trying to wonder when people talk about the money shit. Granted, this is years ago, years and years and years and years and years ago. But it just always seems like the families that didn't have much be having the best families. The rich people got all the money in the world. Their relationships are terrible. Majority of them are terrible. You don't listen to a celebrity when it comes to relationship advice. You just don't. Granted, they're going through the same thing that you're going through, so we shouldn't magnify their mistakes or whatever, but it just seems like the family that was living paycheck to paycheck, or just, family not super big, like family super big, but money wasn't great, they had just enough, got by, seemed like they got the best foundation in families.
He and his older brothers earned a reputation around the Valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We're either fighting amongst ourselves, or there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things,
He was that shit talker.
Larry, somebody his age, I was happy as hell because I like to see him get beat up, and that's just the way it was. If I got in a scrape with some kid, and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was gonna whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They done everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had from the war.
Damn.
What happened to his father in the war affected his entire life. He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
I can't go.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would, on occasion, drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
He looked dead on his
My
mom.
sometimes worked late, and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours, worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
To young Larry, actions spoke louder than words.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech. So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course,
that's something I think kids really got to learn, because that's something I think I've always been great at. I've gotten stage fright, of course, like any other person in the world, but that's something like a lot of kids can't talk or like don't socialize with people. You know, you have your anti-social people or whatever, but you guys really don't realize how much you can fumble, how much you fumble when you don't speak to people in real life, when you don't, because that's what I had my partner, he literally called me and said, bro, you was right about that, talking to girls like in person versus a DM. Because he like pretty much had a situation where he didn't freeze up on a girl, but it was just more so, it was new to, like he was just uncomfortable. Because like I said, he don't got enough reps talking to him in person. And that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of shit, I think it's important that we teach kids or teach people in general, like, hey, you know, talking to somebody can get you far in life, whether it's talking to a girl, talking to someone who owns a business, just making that connection with somebody. You ain't never gonna be able to make that connection if you don't speak. And it starts off in class. I think that's actually one of the good things they taught in school. Yeah, one of the good things they taught in school was public speaking. That's probably that's probably top 3 thing I learned, probably. Public speaking.
Next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, well, there he'd be. The minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
Basketball was just, it came to me, seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability. I just thought the game out.
By his senior year at Springs Valley High, Larry Bird had sprouted into a star. But Bird was from the Valley, hardly a hotbed of talent in the big-time world of Indiana hoops.
The first thing they say, well, they don't play nobody down there. He's from French Lick. They don't play nobody.
I think that put a chip on his shoulder, always having to prove who he was and how good he was.
Bro, say he don't look, what's bro name? Say, in this photo, say he don't look like who bro. Hold on, look at this.
Put a chip on his shoulder, always.
Say he don't look like Fred. Y'all remember Fred from, y'all know the TV show Fred, the dude with the squeaky ass voice? Say Larry Bird in this photo don't look like Fred. Say he don't look like Fred. I'm about to put a photo side by side. Say he don't look like Fred, bro. He looked dead on Fred in this photo, bro. I didn't even realize that. Bro, they're twins.
Prove who he was and how good he was.
They're twins. Look at him. That's Fred right there.
Enough for Indiana University's Bobby Knight to come calling late his senior year. And folks in the Valley couldn't have been prouder. Their local hero was heading 60 miles north to play ball for one of the best college teams in the land.
Once I got to IU, it didn't take long to realize that I was out of my cocoon.
Out of your element.
Over 30-some thousand students. That I didn't have the funds. First week and a half, I thought, man, this ain't gonna work.
He left after 24 days.
Let my mother down. She didn't talk to me for 2 months. But it didn't matter what other people said. To this day, I don't care.
So he
Back in French Lick, Bird took to working for the city, hauling trash and painting park benches. Meanwhile, by that winter, his father's demons had taken him to an even darker place.
Oh, shit.
By this point, Joe and Georgia were divorced, and he was behind in his payments to the family. The police came by, and of course, they all knew.
Oh, never mind what I said. I said it looked like they had a nice, happy family. I'll take it back.
So Joe said, hey, I need a few hours to get my affairs together before you take me away. So he called Georgia, and he said, you guys will be better off without me, and I'm going to take my life. And he put the phone down, and he killed himself. He shot himself.
Oh, my.
When Dad passed, you know, it hurt Larry. I mean, that was his best friend. It's gone now. But Larry didn't show it a lot.
He just didn't say much. You know, he just kind of held it within. I never heard him speak out about it at all.
I was mad when I heard about it, and I was madder after the funeral because I thought he sort of cut out on us during a tough time. But you know, he went through a lot in his life. He did what he had to do.
That, bro.
If Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart. I really do.
It was Bill Hodges, a young coach from Indiana State University, who convinced Bird to give college hoops another shot. So with a promise to his mom to graduate, Bird headed to Terre Haute and ISU, a school that never so much had been to the NCAA tournament.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. You know, he's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody, which is fine. Still dominated.
What's up with the background music in this shit, bro? We saw that in the last reaction. The ball fake and then GOAT, bro. We saw that in the last reaction.
By the time he had led tiny ISU as a senior to a 33-0 record and a spot in the '79 title game, Larry Bird had become, alongside Magic Johnson, the talk of college basketball. Just a year after sharing the court on Team USA, they were back together. And the day before the big game, Magic couldn't wait to greet his old playmate.
Indiana State was on practicing, and we were waiting in the tunnel. We got there early. I wanted to definitely say hello to Larry, you know. When they came through, it was like nobody would say nothing. I wanted to go toward him, like his guys, like made sure that he didn't say nothing. And then they kind of started snickering, like, Michigan State, you in trouble. We're going to kill you guys tomorrow.
I probably did snub him. I don't remember it, but I'm sure I did. I didn't want any, you know, like I call it love fest, hugging and slapping high fives with opponent. You're there for a reason. You're there to win a game.
That just said it's on now.
It is Indiana State against Michigan State. I'm Bryant Gumbel, and the fans here are going bananas.
I mean, let's face it, if Larry Bird were black and came from Chicago, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. They were polar opposites. One black, one white, one outgoing, one shy. That was the charm of the attraction.
The Bird against Magic. All of the superlatives have been used, and believe me, all of them have been warranted.
Heading into the tournament, Magic was the bigger star. But by tip-off, it was Bird, having hardly missed a shot in the semifinal, who had become the focus of fans, and more importantly, of Michigan State.
We actually had two men on Larry everywhere he went.
Two men.
I'm surprised they didn't play a box on one. You know, 4 guys on Larry and 1 on the other 4.
He was killing that much?
They didn't have a lot of talent. You know, if you stop Larry, you pretty much stop them.
Look at the pressure around him. 2-3 men, and he's short.
I didn't play well at all. Biggest game of my life, I didn't play well.
Damn, they blocked that?
I think our length and our size, our jumping ability was able to bother him.
Damn.
I didn't shoot well. Missed, I think, 3 free throws.
Larry Bird has had a cold shooting night.
I battled him, but I didn't have it.
Slow-mo dunk. But look at this. It's like the way.
offense. I thought you did a great job on Larry Bird in the zone denying him the ball.
Yes, Coach gave us a good game plan to go against Larry Bird, and all we had to do was go out and do it. That's what we done.
And congratulations, Super Bowl game.
It was over, you know. That was my 4 years. I was done. No, it still hurts. And when you win 33 in a row and you walk into the game, you know, you never know what to expect, but I expect to win. We didn't win.
Feel that. I done cried over a game after a game before too, man, because it was literally my fault, bro. I missed the 2 free throws. No, I missed the first free throw. I need to make 2 free throws to tie the game. I missed the first one. And, you know, even in high school, I knew all about miss the second one on purpose just to get the rebound. But I was the best rebounder on the team, and I'm the one shooting the free throws. I wasn't about to risk that, bro. I'm not even going to lie. And I've never practiced missing it in such a way for me to get the rebound, myself to run from the free throw line to get it, or for my teammates boxing out to get the rebound. So, with that being said, I just made the second one. I ain't going to, I couldn't, couldn't do it. But I'm going to wrap that up for right here. I'm going to post these in parts. Y'all, somebody in the comments told me to post it in parts clearly because this is a long-ass video, long-ass reaction. But we're going to get it. We're going to get it through. I feel myself falling asleep right now anyway, so I think it's a good time to call it a break anyway. But part 2 of this video dropping soon, man. BamTime.